Welcome back to NEPA Story. I'm Kylie Montigney, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to Kristina Ostrom. She's a single mom who recently moved to PA in 2022 from Louisiana. She's a musician, and her solo project is ShugÖ on all major streaming platforms. She's also a business owner of
Macaroons.
She's very big into fashion and design, in which she renovated and designed her house by herself. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, you are a musician with your solo project Shrung. Oh, what inspired you to pursue music, and how has your style changed since you started out?
So my solo project is called ShugÖ. It's kind of like ShugÖ, like oh. The umlaut makes a sound. So it's ShugÖ, ShugÖ. You could say either way.
Mhm.
But what inspired me is that I've always been a musician my whole life. I've always written songs since I was a little kid. But I'm classically trained. So growing up, I was singing in a lot of choirs. People would hire me to sing in their band songs that they had written. And I never really got my footing performing my own songs. So around 2020, I started like really wanting to pursue writing and recording and performing my own songs that I wrote. So that's when I started ShugÖ.
Like, did you kind of want to start earlier, or how did that work? Like, did you actually want to be kind of a, let's just say, professional singer, or how did like you find the decision to actually become an actual musician and release music?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a professional singer. It's the only thing that I ever wanted to be actually.
Mhm.
Um, but I had kids really young, and I kind of felt like I couldn't pursue both. I felt like I had made my choice, and as a mother, I like wasn't allowed to per se pursue music. So that's when I started Karmacarons, which is my business. I started it when my older son Cannon was 1 year old. Um, and yeah, I did that for a really long time. I had multiple shops, and then around COVID, I started to realize that
Mhm.
even though I was fulfilled in a lot of ways, I wouldn't be okay not trying. Like I wouldn't be okay because I always write songs. I write so many songs. So yeah, and it's always been like a huge passion of mine. So that's why it took me longer in life to do it. I did
I
things a
get
little bit
it.
backwards.
I totally get it. Like if I was in your position, I would never forgive myself if I never tried, honestly. I would be like, if I don't try now after I had kids, then I'm probably never gonna do it because when you have kids, your priorities change and you honestly just forget about it. You're like, oh, I want to be a musician, but having kids changes everything for you.
Yeah, yeah, but you make time. You figure it out. It would have been a lot harder when they were little. They're older now. I mean, they're 10 and almost 7 now. So like it's not as hard now. And I make it work.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that sort of thing when they're older than when they're younger, just because like they're maturing, they're doing more activities, like you just have more free time to actually devote to that than when they're very young.
Yeah.
Like, what type of music do you play with your solo project? Is there a specific genre, or do you play a mix of different things?
So it doesn't really have a specific genre. It's kind of all over the place, but I usually describe it as sad girl pop. But there are some songs that are more R&B. There are some songs that are more folky, more country. I just wrote a song. I saw the Northern Lights. I don't know if you got to see them.
I literally like am so sad because when the Northern Lights hit a few days ago, I was literally working right when it was happening. And by the time I went outside when I was on break, it was done. It literally
Yeah.
finished. I'm like, are you serious? Like right when I'm outside going to get food, it's gone. But
Yeah.
you can go back to your story, but
It
I'm
was it
so
was
upset.
really fast. Like the super bright parts were really fast.
Mhm.
And it was definitely like super lucky that I caught it, but I saw it and it was so beautiful, and I felt so inspired, and I wrote a song. And the way that I write songs is really unique, and I don't see a lot of people write songs the way I do because I don't play any instruments.
Mm.
So when I write a song, like the melody just kind of comes to me. I get into a flow state, and I don't like write it down. I just like voice memo it, and then and just like it just flows out, you know? So the way that it flowed out was totally a country song, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna make a country song.
Like it always depends. Like there also was Northern Lights here. I think it was in July. I could be wrong. Any people can correct me if I'm wrong. But I do think it was in July. I remember like you couldn't see it unless it was you took a picture or something on your phone.
Yeah.
And it was that was the only time I saw the Northern Lights ever in my life. Like I traveled to Iceland before, but that's when that time of year they never do the lights during night time of the year.
Uh,
You know, I think it was like in August or July the time I went a few years ago, and that's really not when Northern Lights was going on in Iceland. So
yeah.
I really never saw it. The only time I actually saw it was through my phone. But I would low-key wish I actually got to see it outside of my phone last
Mhm.
week if I wasn't working.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the majority of the time that I was seeing it, you had to look through your phone, but then you didn't. And it was just so beautiful and so amazing and so bright. And it lasted like 10 minutes where you could see it with the naked eye. And I just was crying like a baby. Like tears were just like falling down my face. I was with my mom, and
Oh,
she was just like, oh, like it was beautiful. It was a
like
beautiful experience.
I saw so many posts from people that they saw. I know someone mentioned to me it was going on like a few days before, but I literally forgot about it until I saw people post it. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me right now? And I
Yeah.
saw it in the middle of my work day. And I was like, I'm missing this because I'm in work. Like it's crazy, but I was literally living through other people, whoever posted.
Oh man.
But to go back to your music, like what themes or messages do you explore with your music? I know you don't have a specific kind of genre you follow. Every song is different, but do you kind of explore any messages or themes for your songs?
Honestly, the theme is like standing up for yourself. I feel like ShugÖ says a lot of things that Kristina is scared to say.
I
Like
get it, yeah.
very strong-willed, very cheeky. Um, but also like spiritual, strong, kind of cunty.
Mm.
That's
Interesting.
that's
Like
how I
I
feel.
love those songs like that are like that because personally, I hate sitting up or telling people how I feel. So those are the songs that make me feel like I told that to people, even though I don't.
Yeah, exactly. And when I really leaned into it with ShugÖ, the first song that I wrote for ShugÖ was Own Soul. I don't know if you listened to any of my
Mm,
music. And that one, you can tell that like I wasn't ready to really be like cunty yet, you
mm,
know?
yeah.
Like I wanted to, you can hear it. I'm like on the verge of it. But then the next song I wrote for ShugÖ, like the ShugÖ project was Harder Way. And that one, oh boy, that is a diss track. And you can't tell if you're listening to it. And that's like kind of what's so special about the way that I write. It is very cheeky, and you can't tell what the songs are about. Like you think you might know,
Mm.
but when people that know me or people that I tell what like Harder Way is really about, like line for line, they're like, "Oh my God," you know? It's
Like
really
you just really don't know. Like you have a feeling, but don't know until you ask or someone mentions it.
yeah, and people have like used my sound on TikTok and stuff, and
Actually,
yeah, yeah,
that's
and they're like,
crazy.
when you still love them, but you know it's best to break up, and it's really funny because like that's how I wanted it to be portrayed. Like I wanted it to be portrayed as me being sweet, but I wanted the person who the song was about to know and to be like, ugh,
Like
like
to never have the second guess. Like did it's no. Like you they don't have to
yeah,
ask.
yeah, like they hear the lyrics and they're like, oh my God, that's like, oh, ouch, But
I
everyone else is like,
know.
oh, she's so sweet. Wow.
Oh, she made a song about me. That's actually crazy. Even though I never asked, I just know.
Yeah, I love writing songs about people.
If I was a musician now, I'd do the same exact thing.
All of my songs, well, not all of them, a lot of them are about specific people or situations. I pull inspiration from a lot of different things, but
Mhm.
I would say it's kind of typical, but the thing that I pull the most inspiration from is heartbreak, which
Mm.
I've certainly had my fair share of. So it's almost like I keep repeating the cycle because I get really good content out of it.
Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't know if you get this often, but now, like, since you said that, I kind of get that mindset of Taylor Swift. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but she writes most of her songs on heartbreak and boys and relationships. That once you said all that, I'm like, bro, this is Taylor Swift 2.0. Seriously.
Yeah, and actually, even though my music taste is very vast, I have actually loved Taylor Swift since I was a little kid.
Same
She's only
here.
a few years older than me, and I remember the first Taylor Swift song I ever heard. It was Teardrops on My Guitar. It was on an EP. She didn't even have a whole album yet. And it was like a CD from Walmart that my friend
Oh,
had bought. I wasn't
actually?
even old enough to drive. So Taylor Swift herself was probably 15.
Mm.
I wasn't old enough to drive. It was my friend's car. And I heard it and I was like, wow, this is a really good song. Like I really align with this song. And even though I'm not like a crazy Swiftie, like I've never been to the Eras tour or like any of her shows, like I'm not like that. I appreciate her a lot.
Mhm.
I appreciate a lot about her actually. I think that she's very strong. She's calm for the most part and very driven. Like she knows what she wants,
Mhm.
and those are all things that I admire. Like
True.
I admire her. I really do.
Like,
Which
and
I know
her
seems so
relationship with
silly.
Travis Kelsey, though, is on another level. Like, the relationship they have, I'm just like, please give me a man like that. Like, that's
Oh
awesome.
yeah,
Their relationship is literally amazing. Like, I love it.
I know, and it's really cute to see her like happy and loved and in the limelight. And like she and I are around the same age, so I feel for her. Like I think that that's why she is so popular because so many people can relate to her and she keeps
Yeah.
herself humble enough to at least portray like an
Mhm.
average person, like she has it in her to where people are like, well, she's like a celebrity, but like not a real one. Like she's like a regular person. When really she's a billionaire.
Yeah, like
She's
she's the
not a
most
regular
famous
person. She
person
has
literally
like
on the planet. Like, of course,
yeah, she has
everyone
like
knows who she is.
thousands of people working for her. You
Mhm.
know, like she's not a regular person at all, but
No. Even though
she
she
markets
literally is
herself.
a human being, like she's not gonna live the life as maybe me and you have. Like she literally is the most famous person on the planet. Like you can't really have a normal life without people coming up to you.
Yeah, exactly. So I see both sides of that, but it doesn't stop me from admiring her because I do think that she's really cool and I've always liked her songwriting. I don't think necessarily that I like pull a lot of inspiration from her songwriting because I'm like hyper unique. Like I don't ever like to be like anybody else,
Yeah.
but I appreciate her songwriting a lot.
I think it's different from most artists. Like she kind of writes most of her songs compared to maybe most other songwriters have someone writing it for them. It's very
Yeah.
different, which I appreciate because like she really writes her songs from the heart and her personal experiences rather than maybe having someone write the song for her and just performing it just because they gave it to her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. And I think all the time like when does she have time to keep writing? If she's
Yeah, especially with the
performing,
Eras tour, like it's like
yeah.
having so much. I think her last leg is this end of this month, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Um but she like recorded a whole album in that time. Like what like I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, like when, like, I think I'm busy. And like,
I'm
I
the same way. Like if
barely
how
find
am I
time to
supposed to
go.
write an album with everything going on, let alone her going on tour, Sunday night football, like how?
Yeah. Like, wow,
And
crazy.
she's from Pennsylvania
I
too. That makes it
know. I
even
know. She's
more
from like
amazing.
what, Reading?
I think it was Reading or Allentown, around that area.
Okay.
So which is why I like her even more, just because she's a Pennsylvania native. But to go to your business, like tell us about Karmacarons and what inspired you to start your business.
So Karmacarons is a French macaroon business. I have had many incarnations of this business because I have had it since 2016. What inspired me was that I was a young mother and I never went to college. I had just kind of given up music. I thought like, okay, I'm a mom now. I can't be a musician anymore. So I was working in a grocery store as a healthy eating specialist. I was on the marketing team, and I read an article about aquafaba, which is like an egg replacer. It's an isolated legume protein. It's garbanzo bean water. It's like the water in the can of a garbanzo bean. I read an article about it that the proteins mimic that of an egg white, so you can make a meringue with it. And so I thought, whoa, what if I try to make a vegan macaron
Mhm.
with this aquafaba? I had never made a macaron before, but I was vegan at the time. So I
Mhm.
was like, I can do this. I'm going to start a business doing this. Like, I read the article and I made the decision. I was just like, I'm going to start a business making vegan macarons. So then I tested, I worked so hard for months and I failed so many times making the recipe. And then I finally did it successfully. And I let people try them and everyone freaked out about it. And so I just decided to just take it off. And I trademarked my recipe and I opened some shops in Louisiana. Well, first I opened one in New Orleans, and then I opened one in Lafayette, Louisiana, and then I opened one in Baton Rouge. So I had three locations. I just did vegan. It was all vegan at the time. Vegan macaroons, rolled ice cream, and teas, like pretty delicious bubble teas, all vegan. And then during COVID, we had to close everything, and it kind of gave me the chance to be like, do I really like want this anymore? Like, what do I want? And then I started doing music again. And then I decided to move here in 2022, and I did still do Karmacarons. Like, I would still like travel around to festivals and stuff, but I didn't have any shops. I had my one tiny shop in Lafayette, and then that was it. Like, I was done with the whole traveling craziness thing. But then I moved here, and slowly I decided, okay, I'm going to start this back up again here. And something that I had always wanted to do was to have a food truck, because part of my business was that I love music festivals. I've always loved them. I've always thought that vending, making money at music festivals was just like the coolest thing ever.
And you made
And
more money there than maybe some other places.
oh yeah, definitely. So I did do music festivals throughout the last 8 years, a lot of them, but I always operated out of a tent. Like, I would have a cute tent set up, and I always wanted a food truck. Always, always, always. So when I decided, it was actually after the eclipse. It was like about a week after the eclipse. I just woke up one morning and I was like, I'm buying a food truck. I'm going to buy a food truck, and that is how I'm going to do it this summer. There's no questions asked. That is what I'm doing. And so I did it. I like 2 weeks later, I found it, everything just fell into place perfectly. I found a trailer. I converted it into a food truck. I painted it pink. I built a pastry case in it. And ever since I got the food truck, I mean, I did operate. Last year was my first summer living in Pennsylvania, and I did operate. I did like the Bloomsburg Fair. I did a couple other fairs, but this year I really went all out. Like, I'm vending every weekend, sometimes during the week, and I've done really well for myself this year. So I'm
That's
excited.
good. Like you growing for yourself. You might as well get out there, especially get a food truck, like more money, traveling. Like that's you're living the dream.
Yeah.
Like with all of that, with making macarons, like once I saw that this morning when I was paying for this, I was like, oh my gosh, you're making me so hungry for these right now. Because I never, believe it or not, I never had macarons before. Believe I've
Really?
seen it, but I never had it, which is crazy and might surprise a lot of people. But
Wow.
what makes your handcraft French macarons and beverages unique, in your opinion?
Well, almost nobody else does vegan ones. Now I do vegan and traditional. I don't only do vegan anymore because I'm not vegan anymore. But when I first started, vegan macarons were like unheard of. Like
Yeah.
I trademarked my recipe because I was one of the only people in the world that made them. Now it's becoming more of a thing. People have like kind of caught on to the aquafaba thing, and you can find them here and there, but it is still very unique.
Hmm.
But I care so deeply about quality and the whole experience of it that like I won't sell a broken one. I
Hmm.
won't sell one that's not the perfect texture. If anything happens in transit, I will throw it away rather than make money on it because I can't bear the idea of somebody biting into it and it not being like the most perfect experience.
Hmm.
I do a lot of unique flavors. I do a lot of unique like colors and patterns and decos and stuff. One of my most popular ones, I call it Taste the Rainbow. It's a vegan flavor, and I pipe it so that it's actually a rainbow, and it's really cool.
Oh,
Um,
I had to look that up now. Do you do shipping like or anything or no?
Not yet. So I used to have a website where I shipped a long time ago, and it was really hard to maintain. And this year, everyone keeps asking me for that, and I know now it's so different than it was 8 years ago. Like I could do TikTok Shop or Amazon. Like there's so many
Mhm.
options, but it's a huge commitment that I personally am not ready to make of time and energy. And I'm looking for the right person for that job. So
Like to do it
I
for
am
you so you don't have to
actively
do it.
looking to hire somebody to run a website and manage like e-commerce. I'm just not there yet.
Mhm,
That
I
person
get it.
hasn't come to me yet. So if you know anybody that's interested in like marketing, e-commerce, anything like that, you just let me know.
Absolutely. If anyone's watching this and is interested, I'm putting her stuff below, so feel free to message her. Like if you do like end up doing that, let me know because I definitely would love to buy some. So if you do,
Yeah.
just let me know. But the last thing I have for you is like what's next for you, like your music and your business?
Well, I actually just released a song yesterday on October 13th. I know that
Oh,
this
congratulations.
comes out like a little bit past. But yeah, it's called Don't Really Want a Wife. This one is a different style than my other songs, but kind of like I said, like every song is a little bit different, you know? It's the first song that I wrote and recorded and was produced all in Pennsylvania.
Mm.
So when I moved here, I still had some projects underway, and I was flying out to New Orleans. I was flying my producers out, and we were recording in Brooklyn. But this was the first song in the ShugÖ project that it was written and recorded and produced and everything, except for I did still send it out to be mastered to some of my people in Louisiana. But the whole thing was done right here, and I shot well, it's not a music video, but I did like the photo shoot for the cover and like to promo it, all here in Pennsylvania. And it felt like I truly moved in. Like
Like you don't
like
feel like you're
keeping
just
everything
finally
in
in Pennsylvania right now, right when
yeah, yeah. Like everything being in Pennsylvania, I was like, okay, like I live here now. Like this is really
yeah,
close
like
to it.
once it's complete, you're like, okay, now I feel complete, actually.
Yeah. As for my business, well, okay, music wise, I'm also in a cover band called Super
Ooh.
Groove, and we just do like 90s to current covers. We play at bars and places like that. But we do have a few shows coming up, which is really fun. For my business, we have through the last week of November booked out. for the food truck, and then we're taking a break. The last week, pretty much December to March, we're taking a break. We're going to recoup, try to get wholesale going, maybe try to get a website going, and then we'll start back up with the food truck probably end of March, early April. As far as me, music wise, my solo project, ShugÖ, like I said, I just released a song, but I'm gonna just continue recording. I'm trying to decide right now if I want to keep doing like the singles releases because I have 6 singles now on Spotify. It's taken me a long time. It's taken me almost 2 years to accumulate those 6 songs, which
Mhm.
isn't great. I should have more, but I'm just, I'm so busy and I'm doing the best I can. But I've considered just doing a whole album. I'm so backlogged with songs. I've written so many songs in the last few years that haven't even seen the light of day yet because I write new songs. Like this song that I wrote about the Northern Lights, like that's the one that I want to record next now. And the other ones in line are just they're just gonna get washed over. So I'm considering recording a whole album, but I'm not sure yet. So there will be more music. I'm not sure in what form, but there will be more.
You definitely should write an album. With having so many views, like no one can get enough. So you definitely should, in my opinion. But I think that is the best way to wrap up this episode. I literally loved having you on the podcast. I know we've been trying to
Oh,
go back and forth having this conversation, but I'm so glad we were able to get this done and recorded. I
yeah, me
love
too.
everything you're doing. I know I say that a lot in this podcast, but it's so true. I love everyone I have on here and the people that I meet. Everyone's so amazing and literally keep up the good work. Your music is literally, I'm gonna say it again, amazing because it
Thank
really
you.
is. And really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. It was so great to talk with you and catch up.
Yeah, you too. Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Of course. Thank you everyone for listening. Make sure you stay tuned for more episodes by liking, subscribing. Stay tuned for next few weeks. There's a bunch of recordings coming up. But thank you everyone for listening. I'll talk to you guys very soon.